Welcome to the first keynote of the day, in which promises to be 2 days of great content and some awesome speakers. My aim over the next 15 minutes is to share some insight of things that I've been seeing and hearing in the marketplace. And also, I'm going to try and make you laugh as well, which will probably be quite challenging for this time of the morning. So, my role at Money20, which is the largest fintech event series in the world, allows me to travel around Europe speaking to some of the greatest organizations and smaller companies across Europe and beyond, from the likes of BBVA to ING, from Klarna to Stripe, from Alipay to Google, as well as some of the investors such as Sequoia Capital and Index Ventures. I'm also fortunate to get to speak to some of the leading or the new wave of startups that are currently in beta. So pretty much, most of the companies of all shapes and sizes operating across Europe within payments and financial services. But before I come on to this, I've been asked by the organizers at Impact to give my views on what it would take to make Poland the leading fintech capital in Europe, but also across the world as well. And, as you can imagine, there is no one approach that will work. There is no silver bullet. But having come back from Singapore and spent quite a bit of time out there recently, I have a good idea of what is expected. So let's put this into context. Singapore is a country that has 5 million population, which is roughly an eighth the size of Poland. It has two giants either side, India and China. And essentially, these markets have huge consumer populations, as well as a great IT and technical capability. Another problem that Singapore is facing is that financial services is experiencing a slight decline. So what I mean by this is that there is a massive need to reskill its workforce because of the advent of new technology. So with this in mind and this context, I'd like to share an extract from the MD of Singapore, and he gave this speech a few weeks ago. Essentially, what he's trying to do here is give a view of what the monetary authority is trying to do, and the monetary authority is their equivalent of the central bank. So it's about fostering a culture of innovation. And this is to basically try and re-energize and refresh the financial services business model because of the winds of change that are occurring in the industry. And so the goal for them is to create a smart financial center. And they want to do this to essentially increase efficiency, manage risks better, create new opportunities, and also improve people's lives. But the last line there was very powerful when I heard him say this, that innovative finance must be purposeful finance. And from that, you can read in a couple of nuances. The first nuance is around it needs to be commercial. And the second, it must improve societal needs. So if you can align these two key areas, you will have something special. But these are just words by the MD of the Monetary Authority. And words are meaningless unless they're underpinned by action. And this is what Singapore have been doing to action these great words. First of all, they have set up a technology advisory board of experts from around the world. And this board is helping to influence government and regulators, or the central bank's decision-making. So they've set up an API playbook and released their data standards through these APIs. And they're also encouraging, coercing the banks to really think long and hard and release APIs to their banking platforms. They've announced a collaboration with the R3 initiative in blockchain. And lastly, they've announced a regulatory sandbox to allow startups to test their propositions before they go live. The other key area is that they've been encouraging and really subsidizing some of the corporates to locate their regional innovation labs in Singapore. Companies such as HSBC, Visa, and MasterCard have recently located their innovation labs there. And the next point is about attracting startups, because Singapore, like many other countries around the world, has struggled to retain some of these startups in their domestic markets, and that is really important. So what they've been doing is providing favorable conditions and funding. They've also recently announced the largest co-working space in the world, so kind of like a level 39, but much, much bigger. So 3 weeks ago, they held a Singapore FinTech Festival in which they attracted over 10,000 attendees from all over the world. They had people such as the CEO of Citibank, as well as DBS Bank involved, and a number of startups and tech firms. But it wasn't just about having a conference and an event. They had closed workshop meetings with investors to promote risk capital and the right structures to create risk capital in the marketplace. They also held a hackathon, or they called it a hackcelerator, which is a bit of a naff term, but it's a combination of a hackathon and an accelerator meshed together. And what they did here was they identified 100 problem statements within the financial services sector in Singapore, and they invited startups to address these challenges. They also provided a number of great prizes, so I think it was a good few €100,000 in prize money to bring the startups from around the world and invite them to solve these challenges. The next thing they've done is that they've tried to collaborate with other regulators, and they've called this is building fintech bridges. So, for example, a startup in Singapore can seamlessly execute its products and services in other markets without being hindered by regulation or having to change its business model. The next piece it's been doing is arranging a number of forums and workshops for the local community to be able to understand what it means to set up a fintech business, which to some of you, I'm sure, is straightforward and simple, but for the most of the community, it's something where you actually need some incentives and you need some kind of education around this. They also had these workshops around pivoting your business model and how the government can help support a startup business. And lastly, what they've achieved is a strategic and coordinated approach that aligns government, central banks, corporates, fintech startups, and most importantly, the citizens of the country. So, what advice can I impart based on what I've just told you now? I think it's about trying to get some quick wins for Poland, and that could be to replicate and improve upon some of the best-of-breed initiatives around. Poland has done this very well within the payment sector and also in the banking sector, so you can build on these initiatives. But I think crucially, it's about having an overarching goal that all of the key stakeholders buy into, and to create the right structure with the brightest minds to design and evaluate some of these initiatives and then have the ability to execute them quickly and effectively. So I hope this has kind of helped identify some of the best-of-breed initiatives that one market is doing. So now I'd like to move on to some insights that I've been seeing and hearing in the marketplace. So the first one, which is kind of a no-brainer, is the impact of reducing barriers to market entry within financial services. And as you know, within the startup sector, to actually start a business, the costs of doing so have reduced dramatically over the last 15 years. In the early 2000s, it was around about a few million, if not more, to set up a business and execute your product in financial services. Whereas in today's world, you can do that with tens to twenties of £1,000 and get your business or get a product within financial services out there. We've also seen a lot of VC investment coming in. However, this year it's slowed down slightly, but I'm sure there will be a resurgence in fintech, certainly from the VC community. But I think one of the biggest barriers has been regulation. And now we're starting to see some of these barriers reduce. So we've seen the PSD, we've seen e-money licenses, and we've also seen the requirements to get a banking license reduce, certainly in Germany and the UK. Hence the reason why we're seeing more banks and more challenger banks coming into the marketplace. But the PSD2 is one great example of open banking. And that's one thing that I'd like to focus on for a couple of minutes. So it's creating a lot of anxiety, especially the open access to banks. And so some of the conversations that I've been having in the marketplace, especially with startups, is that they're waiting for this to come through so they can launch products and services. And from the banking community, there are two camps. The first camp of banks that I've been speaking to is that they're seeing the PSD2 as just a compliance, legal, and risk initiative. The other camp of banks are seeing this from an innovation and product development perspective. And it's this camp of banks that I think are going to be the leading winners in the future. In particular, there's one example of a company that I'd like to share, and that is ING with a product called Zolt. Zolt is a very cute product. It's a free mobile app which works as a PFM dashboard, aggregating the balances of customers' various accounts, and it kind of assists them with analyzing their spending patterns and payment obligations. It's currently in beta in the UK, so as a customer, if I have many bank accounts and credit card accounts, I can use Zolt as one overview portal to be able to view my financial details. And while this may not be anything new, because it's been going on for a while now, this is more seamless than just pure screen scraping, because it uses APIs. And the best thing for ING is that it has enabled ING to enter the UK marketplace again, and on low acquisition costs and low infrastructure. There's no need for any branches. So I think the learnings and experience that ING have got from their ING Direct product will certainly help Zolt grow. So moving on to the next insight. It's the increasing importance of open platforms in payments and financial services. So there's been a lot said about open platforms, and we've seen the great work of companies such as Fidor Bank in the financial services sector, but we've also seen some great tech players and payments companies doing this as well. And one of my favorites at the moment is a company called Alipay out of China. I spent some time with them earlier this year, and wow, I was really blown away. Their technology stack is so sophisticated, it enables customers to do multiple things off one platform. And do you know what they're focusing on? They focus their entire product life set on catering to the everyday needs of the customer. So it's a lifestyle product. So you can not only buy products and services online, you can buy it in store, you can hail a taxi, book a restaurant. There are multiple things you can do on this one platform. And I'm afraid to say that Alipay is coming over to Europe, and I think they've already launched in this marketplace, and they will just keep growing and growing across the region. The other interesting point is a company called N26 out of Berlin. And this I'm quite fascinated by, because it's an example of fintech and fintechs working together. So as an N26 customer, the KYC happens on their banking platform, and then you basically can choose multiple services, whether that's having your transfer services through TransferWise or even an investment product through Vamo. So it's an interesting insight. The last one is around what's red hot in financial services, and I think I'm kind of running out of time, but the key messages here is around artificial intelligence is gaining a lot of traction. Biometrics is still very red hot. And I have a short video that I'd like to share with you that the guys at Money20 prepared, Essentially, we patented a technology a couple of years ago, and we pitched it to a number of investors and companies around Europe.
So great to meet you. I've been doing some research with biometrics, and there's so many great ways to pay now. But the one that I've been researching and working on is called Pay by Ass.
Pay by what? What the hell is this thing? It's paying with ass?
And again, you call it fanny pay?
Pay by ass.
Pay by ass. A lot of different kinds of asses in America.
Not one size fits all? Does it work on everybody?
Oh, of course. I mean, what it does is it detects the difference in the shape, all styles, all types of ass.
Where exactly does the secure element go in this?
Is it secure? How do you secure that? When somebody copies somebody else's ass.
We can't be 100% with any of this.
How much does that cost?
Do you have patent pending on this?
How much money are you looking for again?
It's your go-to-market strategy.
It's not a strategy. This is like a no-brainer.
That doesn't look very comfortable. Is it comfortable?
I think the best way to really kind of sell this to anyone is to give you a demonstration.
Demonstration?
Yeah, can I show you how it works?
That's really close.
That's about as far as I want.
Is that as close as I can get? That's like uncomfortably close. Has that been used?
Have you tried this thing yet? Does it work?
Can I show you how it works?
Here?
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. I'm
What
really.
do I have to do?
Well,
Do I, like, sit on this thing?
No. Just bend over the table.
What? Like this?
Exactly. You don't have to look back at me.
Was there a lot of interest in this for the first funding round?
This is not going to be a fit with our investment strategy.
Why is that?
We've got 6 other ass-related investments. We were already long in the space.
So I've overrun, and I'm really sorry about this, but there's just one last point. If you're interested in investing, please come and see me later. But the point of showing this video is that financial services used to be perceived as very dry and serious. This is not the case anymore. And this leads to my last insight, which, with the influx of young entrepreneurs, fintech startups, and disruption, our industry is vibrant and fun, with endless opportunities. So on that note, Money20 and Impact are partnering and will be hosting drinks later on. So please come by and join in and have some fun. Thank you.